Hello everyone. In this presentation, we are going to talk more about culture and marketing. We are going to talk about various topics. The first one is a brief explanation about culture and business. Then we are going to talk more in depth about international marketing, intercultural marketing, the marketing mix to culture, and lastly, we're going to give an example. The first topic we are going to talk about is culture and business. Culture is essential when doing business. It has a big impact on negotiations, decisions, and other elements. And with the growth of globalization, doing business with cultures is inevitable. And intercultural business is more than just communication, it's also behavior that takes place and other elements. So it's important to find the right resources to help with intercultural communication. It can really be useful to know more about the other culture when you're going to do business. And two tools are useful, the Lewis model and Hofstede model. And the Lewis model tells you more about if a country is more direct, indirect, if you are more decisive planners or not, or if you are more focused on emotions and relationships. And then the Hofstede model kind of gives a comparison between countries, and it can show you more about the individualism or if there is an equality or an inequality, masculinity, and a few others.
Hello, I will tell you a bit more about international marketing. When we're talking about international marketing, we are discussing every form of marketing or sales, any business activity that happens outside of the borders of the country of origins of the company in question. This is a fairly recent trend because there needed to be two concepts in place that would allow businesses to work together across borders and cultures. These two concepts are globalization and standardization. I will tell you more about it in a second. Alright, so in this slide I will explain in further detail what globalization and standardization mean and how they shaped our international marketing on a global level. Globalization basically means that we are, as a human species, very connected now. We have the technology to communicate all over the world, send documents, everything we want to do we can do without having to cross a physical border. This has a massive influence on business because it makes it so much easier to communicate with people in different parts of the world, etc. Up next is standardization. This is a concept which basically means that different cultures and different countries still have the same rules for certain things in business. So a good example of this is the GAAP. It's the generally accepted accounting principles, and almost every business on a global level uses this. And you can imagine that without it, it would be very difficult to conduct business with companies from different cultures because their way of doing finance would be totally different from how we do it. And together, these two concepts really shaped our international marketing and allowed us to do business all over the world.
Intercultural marketing. What is intercultural marketing? Intercultural marketing is a strategy that leans close to globalization and differentiation of marketing and helps to increase the sales and reputation of the service or product someone would provide. When releasing a product or providing a service in a certain country, you have to adapt to their cultural behavior. And that is where market segmentation plays a big role. When selling a product or providing a service in a certain country, it is important to have some knowledge about the country and their culture itself. Therefore, segmenting the market in different pieces will not help alone with providing service, but also with increasing the popularity and the sales of your product. With segmenting the market, it will be easier to reshape your product and your service to the cultural standards they have. These changes can be the language of the advertisements, the ingredients of certain foods, and many other things. An example of this is that certain meat types won't be sold in India because of their religion. Religion is a segment of their culture and could have an impact on the sales and services provided by different food chains. With that being known, their food and menus have to be adapted to their culture to be able to succeed in selling their products in India.
Now we are going to talk a little bit more about the marketing mix. The first one is product policy. When thinking about a product for international markets, companies need to think about cultures. And because of cultural differences, companies need to think about different interpretations of their product, like packaging, branding issues, and product specification. They also need to think about the consumers. So a product which is acceptable in the Western countries might not be acceptable in Middle East. So when the product does not suit a foreign market, the company needs to think about changing the product. The second one is promotion policy. Communication has an impact on culture. They are linked together, and culture influences advertising strategies and content choice. The budget of advertising depends on the habits and consumption styles of buyers. It is also important to think about the different variables like culture type, religion, and beliefs of people. There's also different platforms which will be used to advertise, and this varies per market. And the consumers need to understand the marketing message.
So I will be explaining a bit more about the pricing policy. So in the pricing policy, we can understand the currency because all different countries have a different currency. For example, in Europe, we have euros, except for in Denmark and some other countries. In the US, we have the US dollars. In Japan, we have Japanese yen, and so on. So the pricing policy, the price should always be adapted to the currency in that country. They should also take in account that there are competitors which can have the same product as they have. So they will have to look what their price range is, and then also something else, and very important to take into account, is that the monthly wage in different countries is just different as well. For example, in Europe it's 1,600, 700. In Belgium, the minimum wage, and in other countries like in Germany, this can be higher. Then we also have the distribution policy. The distribution policy is actually the way a product reaches to their customers, and there are various types, but I selected two that are, I think, most common, which is the selective distribution and the exclusive distribution. The selective distribution is the distribution in certain stores. For example, Calvin Klein sells their products in certain stores or websites like Zalando, in Galleria Ino, and other stores. And then we have exclusive distribution, and this is actually brands that only sell in their own stores, like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Moncler, and all of these more luxury brands. So to end the presentation, we took an example to state our marketing. So we took McDonald's. McDonald's is a restaurant that everybody knows, and it's present in almost every country in the world. McDonald's has different price ranges depending on the country, and it also has different menus depending on the country. For example, in Muslim majority countries, they will obviously not sell bacon between their burgers because we all know that people who follow Islam don't eat pork. Then in Japan, they have, during the Sakura season, they have these special packaging with the Sakura flowers, and for desserts, they have like different and limited edition flavors. And also, like I said, the menu in different countries might differ. When I went to London, for example, they had McFlurries, which they didn't have in Belgium, for example, and vice versa.